3 days after a routine stay, I asked for discharge. The administrator smiled and said, "We'll process it once your account settles." My account was settled. Their story was not. I dialed the state hotline and watched their tone change from sweet to careful. Before we go on, hit subscribe and tell me where you're listening from. My name is Marian Doyle. I am 71. I taught 4th grade until my knees told me to sit down and let the younger ones stand. I live alone in a narrow house with a blue door and a porch where the wind likes to tell me about the river. I keep my bills in order, my pills in a day box, and my papers in an accordion file labeled the old-fashioned way, with a pin. My daughter Leah says I am the most organized person she knows. I tell her that is another word for I forget less when I write more. It has always been true. I went into Hawthorne Vista Care on a Tuesday for 2 nights of observation after a small stumble and a blood pressure spike. Not a crisis, not a drama. My doctor, Dr. Singh, wanted me monitored and my medications adjusted where the nurses could catch any side effects fast. I agreed. I packed a book, a sweater, my phone charger, and a copy of my insurance card. By Thursday morning, my numbers were steady. Dr. Singh gave his calm nod. "You can go home tomorrow. We'll put in the discharge order after your afternoon round." Friday morning, I washed my face, folded my sweater into my tote, and set my book on top. I ate oatmeal, which tasted like oatmeal. I sat in the chair by the window and watched the parking lot. A robin on a fence post argued with nothing in particular. It looked like any Friday from any year. At 9:30, a woman in a navy blazer came in with a smile that had been polished. "I'm Miss Brandt," she said. "I manage transitions. We'll process discharge as soon as your account settles." "My account?" I asked. "We've had a few insurance clarifications," she said. "Observation status is complex. It can take a day or 2 to finalize. For your safety, let's give it the weekend." "For my safety," I said, "or for your billing?" Her smile did not change shape. "I understand your concern." "Do you?" I said, keeping my voice even. "Or do you understand your invoice?" She glanced at the whiteboard. Safe discharge goal was written across it in neat block letters. Under it, someone had added a smiley face. Miss Doyle ambulance with cane. It was true. I could walk the hallway and back without losing wind. "Let's not rush," she said. "Paperwork takes time." "I am a retired teacher," I said. "I know what takes time and what takes nerve." She left a glossy pamphlet on the tray. What to expect during transitions. I expected to go home. Instead, I learned my purse had been moved to secure storage. A new bracelet appeared on my wrist. The color meant fall risk, even though I had not fallen here. The nurse, Kayla, winced when she put it on me. "New policy?" she whispered. "I hate the color. It scares people who don't need scaring." I asked for the copy of my discharge order. Kayla looked at the screen and frowned. "It was in yesterday," she said, "but now it says pending clarification." She tapped again. "I'll check with the desk." I texted Leah. "Dr. S. said home today. Admin says wait. Please come with quiet shoes and a loud face." She replied with a thumbs up and a heart and a promise to leave work early. At 11, a cart rolled in with a lunch I had not ordered and a form I had never seen. Patient. Responsible party agreement. It had boxes for initials. It used words like until account resolution. I slid my pen into my pocket, sat on my hands, and smiled the way a woman smiles at a street dog that looks friendly but has a tooth you do not trust. "Why do I need to sign this?" I asked. "If I have Medicare and a secondary policy and a daughter with a bank account big enough to buy me soup for a year." "It's standard," the young woman said. "It keeps the file tidy." "Tidy," I said, "is a napkin. This is a rope." She looked down at her shoes. I can mark declines and leave it at that. Please do, I said. Leah arrived at noon with coffee and eyes that have never liked being told no without a footnote. She hugged me and looked around the room like a person who always notes the nearest exit. I handed her the pamphlet and the agreement. She read fast, then slow. They want you to stay, she said, so they can keep billing days. I wondered, I said. Dr. Singh said discharge, she said. He did, I said, and felt a slow anger walk into my chest and sit down with a coat across its lap. Leah went to the nurse's station, asked for Miss Brandt, and came back with a man in shirt sleeves and a tie that had been tied in a car, Mr. Combs. Billing. He had the polite face of someone who spends most of his time saying the same thing to different people. Observation status is a gray area, he said. Your mother's stay toggled between observation and inpatient. The insurer requires additional documentation. We prefer not to discharge until we have an answer. It avoids unpleasant surprises. Unpleasant for who? Leah asked. For everyone, he said, which was not an answer, but a cover for an answer that would not serve him well in sunlight. Please print the ledger, I said. Charges by day, status by day, status by day. Codes if you have them. And a copy of the discharge order I was told exists. He widened his eyes as if a deer had stepped into his office. We can provide a summary, he said. A ledger, I repeated, with dates. He left. Leah. Saturday. We waited. The robin outside scolded the fence. The day changed shape but not color. Kayla came back with a cup of real tea from a stash she kept for herself. I'm not supposed to, she said, but fake tea is a sin and I refuse to be complicit. Bless you, I said. I checked, she added. Dr. Singh signed the discharge. The order is in the system. It's just not being released. Who holds that key? I asked. Admin, she said softly. They say it's safety. I think it's paperwork. And paperwork is sometimes money wearing a name tag. Leah looked at me. I looked at her. We both understood. We have both worked jobs where a noble reason tries to hide a practical one and does it poorly. At 2, Mr. Combs returned with a thin stack. A summary of discharges that looked like a grocery receipt from a weekend you want to forget. Observation S inpatient. Observation S. It flipped back and forth like a person who cannot decide if they are cold. There were line items for safety monitor and fall prevention, kit and care coordination meeting that I had not attended. At the bottom, a handwritten note, pending codes, pending insurer approval. May I have the detailed ledger? I asked again. This is what we release, he said. Then release me, I said. We recommend a day or two, he said, to keep you safe while we finalize. Leah smiled the way she did at 16 when a boy told her she couldn't park where she had parked. Print the discharge order, she said, now. He left again. I opened my phone and logged into my patient portal. I found Dr. Singh's note, stable, home with cane, outpatient follow-up in 7 days, discharge Friday. The timestamp was yesterday at 4:12 p.m. I took a screenshot and saved it to an album called Proof. My old students used to say, if it's not on paper, the teacher won't believe it. I taught them to bring their homework. Life had taught me to bring my homework too. At 3, Kayla returned with a copy of the order. It had a sticky note that read, Hold for admin. My name sat on the top line. The signature sat at the bottom. The middle said, Safe Discharge Plan Home. Kayla looked tired. I can get in trouble, she said, but I don't like the way this smells. It smells like a pantry when someone forgets the milk and blames the cookies, I said. Exactly, she said, and almost smiled. At 4, a new bracelet arrived. Wandering Risk. The color was different. I stared at it and then at the nurse who brought it. She looked afraid of me. Order from above, she whispered. If we classify you this way, we can keep you on the unit if you try to leave without a formal discharge. They say it's safety. Please don't yell at me." "I won't," I said. "I am saving it for the right person." I reached for my tote. I took out my accordion file and slipped the order, the summary, the pamphlet, and the bracelet insert into separate pockets. I labeled each with a sticky note and the time. 3:07 p.m. order copy arrives. Hold for admin. 3:22 p.m. summary of charges. Codes pending. 4:01 p.m. new bracelet. Wandering risk. I wrote the names of the people who had delivered each part. Names matter. I have learned that nobody wants to be a nameless they when facts start walking around the building. Then I did the thing that made all the difference. I called the number on the back of my insurance card. "Care Coordination MI?" asked the question in the voice I used for fire drills. Calm, clear. "Am I covered for discharge today?" The woman on the other end read the screen. "Yes, Mrs. Doyle." The physician authorized outpatient follow-up. There is no authorization on file for additional days. "So if I stay," I said, "it is not because you require it." "Correct," she said. "I asked for a case number. I asked for her first name. I wrote both down. I felt the slow anger inside me stand up and smooth its skirt. We were ready for company. Leah stepped into the hall and took photos of the unit whiteboard. Patients. For discharge today. Names listed and erased, mine written in faint marker and half rubbed out. She marked the hour on each photo. She asked the nurse at the desk to sign a visitor's log that showed she had arrived at noon and stayed. That's simple. Timestamps. Presence. A trail a child could follow. At 5, the administrator came back. Miss Brandt had a new smile. Fewer teeth, more policy. "Mrs. Doyle, after reviewing your chart, we believe one more day will keep you safer." "Dr. Singh believes home will keep me honest," I said. "I appreciate his enthusiasm," she said. Enthusiasm. As if safety were a club you join. "For clarity," Leah said, and her voice was a scalpel, "are you refusing to release the discharge order?" "We are holding it," she said, "until billing clarifies." "For clarity," Leah repeated, "are you holding my mother's discharge for money?" "Observation status is complex," she said. "We do not want her disappointed by coverage surprises." "Do not sell me disappointment as kindness," I said. She folded her hands as if she were praying for us to stop being a problem. "We all want what is best," she said. "Best for who?" I asked. "For the patient," she said. "I am the patient," I said, "and I want my door." She pursed her mouth. "Let's revisit in the morning." "Please send me a copy," I said, "of any document that authorizes you to hold me after a physician orders discharge. I'll put it in my file." She did not move. She did not speak. She smiled. She left. The night nurse, Marco, came on shift. He is the kind of nurse who tucks a blanket like he is tucking a sentence into place. "I heard," he said, "and I am sorry. If you need anything, press the call button twice. Once for me. Twice for me faster." "I will push it like a doorbell," I said. "Good," he said and winked. At 8, Leah went home to feed her dog and print a few things from her office computer. She kissed my forehead like she did when she was 7 and afraid of thunder. "I'll be back at 9, she said. "Don't sign anything with boxes." "I won't," I said. I was the teacher who taught children that boxes are for cupcakes and moving days, not for promises. On the table lay a thin sheet with a new line. Safety rounds every 2 hours. The time spaces were blank. I left them blank. Sometimes the best way to show a lie is to give it a place to write itself. At 9:15, Leah returned with a little portable printer and a stack of page protectors. She printed Dr. Singh's note from the portal. She printed a screenshot of the care coordinator's confirmation that no extra days were authorized. She slid each into a sleeve. She labeled them. She placed them in the accordion file like cards in a deck she knew how to play. "This is a lot," she said, rubbing her eyes. "This is a plan," I said. "At what point?" she asked. "Do we call the state?" "When they turn the key I did not give them," I said. "We did not sleep much." Kayla came at 10 with my pills in a whisper. "They'll try in the morning," she said. "They think people are softer then." "I am cream of wheat until I am not," I said. She laughed softly. She held my hand for a second. "You remind me of my abuela," she said. "She kept a ledger for everything. She used to say, 'People put on a show. Paper tells the story.'" "She was a teacher," I said. "I can tell." At 5, the hallway lights came on the way. Daybreak comes in a building that uses electricity to fake the Sunday I washed my face. I combed my hair. I put on my sweater. I set my cane by the chair. I put my file on my lap. Leah slept in a visitor chair with a scarf over her eyes. I let her keep it there until the footsteps changed. At 7:30, Miss Brandt entered with Mr. Combs and a man I had not met. He wore a badge that said, "Clinical Liaison." He had the voice of a person who sells calm. "Good morning," he said. "We have a plan." "Wonderful," I said. "Let me see it." "Given your elevated fall risk," he said, pointing to the bright bracelet that somebody had decided I needed, "we recommend observation through Monday while the insurer clarifies status. We'll keep you on the unit and—" "Stop," I said. He stopped. "Dr. Singh ordered discharge," I said, holding up the copy. He nodded. "Pending clarification." I held up the case number and the name of the care coordinator. "No additional days authorized," I said. "Documented." He did a small smile, the kind that hopes you will accept a new word when the old word does not help them anymore. "We're looking at best practices here. My best practice," I said, "is to leave when my doctor says the door opens." Ms. Brandt tried the sweet voice again. "For your safety," she began. "For your billing," I said. Her eyes cooled. "Mrs. Doyle, if you attempt to leave against medical advice." "Against which medical advice?" I asked, and tapped the discharge again. "This one or the one you keep trying to invent?" Mr. Combs cleared his throat. "We could create a payment plan to address the—" "And there it is," Leah said from behind the scarf. She sat up. She looked like coffee. "The plan is money." "That is not fair," Miss Brandt said. "Neither is holding a discharge for reasons you will not write down," Leah said. "If safety is the reason, write it. If billing is the reason, admit it." "Mrs. Doyle," the liaison said, "you seem agitated." "We can have someone from the memory wing come down and evaluate your—" "My memory works," I said, "and so does my phone." I reached for it. I opened the Notes app. I read aloud the times and names I had recorded. 9:02 a.m. Friday. Admin states account must settle. 11:17. Patient responsible party form presented. Declined. 3:07 discharge order copy produced with hold note. I kept going. I did not shout. I just told the story the way I have always told the story, beginning, middle, end. Then I did the thing that stepped the day into a different shape. I pressed speaker. I dialed the number on a small card taped inside my accordion file. State Long-Term Care Ombudsman Program. The ring was a sound I have never loved more. "Office of the Ombudsman," a woman said. "Good morning," I said. "My name is Marion Doyle. I am 71. I am at Hawthorne Vista Care on the 3rd floor. My physician ordered discharge. Administration is holding it. They have applied new risk bracelets in the last 12 hours, added charges that do not match services, and tried to make me sign a responsible party document. I have copies. I have names. I have a case number from my insurer that says no extra days are authorized. My daughter is present. We need help." "What is the room number?" the woman asked. 307, I said. "What names do you have?" she asked. I read them. Brandt, Combs, clinical liaison. I gave her the timestamps. I gave her the timestamps. I gave her the case number. I gave her the words I had written in my neat teacher's hand at 2 in the morning when the building creaked like a ship that had drifted too far from shore. "Stay on the line," she said. "Please place me on speaker so the staff can hear that you have contacted the state. I may conference with a field representative." "Gladly," I said, and set the phone on the tray where the pamphlet had been. The room changed temperature, the way a porch changes when a storm decides to come in from the field. Miss Brandt's smile moved aside and let her real mouth stand there. Mr. Combs adjusted his tie like a man remembering the last time he saw a notary stamp. The liaison put his hands in his pockets, then took them out, then looked at the door as if it had opinions. "This is the office of the Ombudsman," the woman repeated, now louder. "We are reviewing a potential improper retention and discharge delay. A field representative is on the way." The silence that followed was not empty. It was full. It was the kind of quiet that happens after the first bell and before the teacher says, "Take out your pencils." I lifted my eyes to Miss Brandt. "Now," I said, "shall we look at the ledger together, or shall I wait for your guest?" She swallowed. "We will, of course, cooperate fully." "That," I said, "would be new." Leah picked up the accordion file and opened it like a book in church. "We brought proof," she said. "Please bring yours." The speakerphone was still live. The line hummed like a wire strung tight between two poles. "This is the office of the Ombudsman," the woman repeated, now louder. "We are reviewing a potential improper retention and discharge delay at Hawthorne Vista Care, 3rd floor, room 307. I am dispatching a field representative. Please keep this patient's discharge documents available for immediate review." I folded my hands over my file and looked at Miss Brandt. She smiled, then remembered that smiles are not policies. Mr. Combs stared at the carpet like it had the answer. The clinical liaison shifted his weight to his back foot and pretended the window was a point of interest. "You may use the family conference room," the ombudsman's voice said. "Open door. Patient present, daughter present, administration present, billing present. Nurse of record welcome. I will join by phone until my representative arrives." "Copy," I said, as if we were landing a plane. "Open door. Patient present." "Thank you, Mrs. Doyle," she said, "and thank you for your notes. Names and times matter." "They always have," I said. We moved. Kayla met us in the hall with a clipboard and eyes that said she would rather be any place where people do not hide keys from patients who own their own doors. She held the conference room door and clicked a small wedge into place so it stayed open. The opening faced the nurse's station. Visitors in chairs could see in and see out. Not a closed room, not a trap. A room with air. On the wall hung a framed poster. "Patient rights." The font was too small and the glass made a glare. I could not read a single line from where Saturday I made a note to suggest bigger letters and lower frames. A right you cannot read is not a right you can use. Leah set the accordion file on the table and opened it like a hymn book. "Order F. Ledger. Bracelets. Notes. A portal screenshot. Insurer case number." She lined them in tidy rows. She set her phone face down next to the speakerphone. Ready hands. Quiet breath. "Good morning again," the ombudsman's voice said into the air. "Who is present?" Leah answered as if she were taking attendance. "Patient, Marion Doyle. Daughter, Leah Doyle. Administrator, Miss Brandt. Billing, Mr. Combs. Clinical liaison badge, says Hill. Nurse of record, Kayla. Night nurse, Marco, came off shift." "And your physician?" the ombudsman asked. "Dr. Singh," I said. "I can call the clinic." "Please do," she said. "Put him on speaker if he is available." Leah tapped, waited, then handed me the phone. Dr. Singh, she mouthed. Dr. Singh, she mouthed. Doctor, I said. You ordered my discharge yesterday. Admin is holding it for clarification. The Ombudsman is on speaker. Good morning, he said, calm as a metronome. Yes, I ordered discharge. No medical hold is in place. Follow-up outpatient in 7 days. There is no clinical reason to retain Mrs. Doyle. Thank you, the Ombudsman said. Mrs. Doyle has reported application of additional risk bracelets and presentation of a responsible party's document after the order. Can you confirm any clinical order for those? I ordered neither, he said. Fall risk bracelets are typically applied based on nurse assessment on admission, not post-discharge order. I did not order a wandering designation. I did not request retention. Discharge is appropriate. Understood, the Ombudsman said. Please stay available. He agreed and stayed on mute. His quiet presence sat on the table like a small anchor. Now, the Ombudsman said, Administration, please explain why discharge is held. Miss Brandt folded her fingers into a church steeple. We are concerned for Mrs. Doyle's safety. Her insurer has not confirmed status. We do not wish her to face unexpected charges. Thank you, the Ombudsman said. Safety retains people only when a clinical hold exists. Billing does not. Insurer authorization concerns do not permit retention absent clinical order. Do you have a clinical order? No, she said. Thank you, the Ombudsman said. She did not raise her voice. She did not need to. Mr. Combs, please provide the itemized ledger, status by day, codes, and all forms presented to the patient since the discharge order was signed. He slid a stack across the table. It was thin. It should have been thin. It still tried to look like a book. Leah placed it between the portal printout and my notes. Mrs. Doyle, the Ombudsman said, please read your notes into the record. Dates and times. I read. Friday 9:02 a.m. Account must settle. 11:17 a.m. Responsible party form presented. Declined. 3:07 p.m. Discharge order copy appears with hold note. 3:22 p.m. Summary of charges provided. Codes pending. 4:01 p.m. Wandering risk bracelet applied. Reason not documented. I kept going. I read the times. I read the names. I placed each page next to each word. Paper told the story. My voice carried it. Thank you, the Ombudsman said. Nurse Kayla, is any of this inconsistent with your observation? Kayla swallowed. Now, I saw the order yesterday. I saw the hold note today. The second bracelet came from above. I don't like it. You're doing fine, the Ombudsman said. Hill, the liaison, leaned forward. We often keep patients over a weekend. Coordination is smoother on Mondays. Mondays are not a clinical order, the Ombudsman said. He sat back. Please remove the wandering bracelet, the Ombudsman added, unless a clinical order exists, and return the patient's purse from secure storage. Mrs. Doyle is not a retention case. She is a discharge with rights. Understood, Kayla said. She rose. She clipped. The plastic band loosened, then slid free. It looked like a cheap ring pretending to be a promise. She left to retrieve my purse. Mr. Combs, the Ombudsman said, the ledger shows charges for a safety monitor and a care coordination meeting on Friday. Who provided those services? He checked a sheet. The monitor is a standard charge, he said. The meeting is a standard charge, too. Names, the Ombudsman said, please. He hesitated. He glanced at Miss Brandt. She shrugged without moving her shoulders. There is no name, he said finally. It is unit-based. Then it is not patient-specific, the Ombudsman said. Remove those charges, now. Print a corrected ledger for the file and for the patient. He tapped his tablet and tried to look busy. Leah, the Ombudsman said, I am going to conference in my field representative. She is 2 miles away. Her name is Miss Alvarez. She will expect open doors, all documents, and your cooperation." "Copy," Leah said. Kayla returned with my purse, my ID, and the tiny hairbrush I like because it never pulls. She set them down like she was returning a song to a singer. "Thank you," I said. "You're welcome," she said, and her eyes went wet. She wiped them with the heel of her hand, and Saturday, we waited. In the hall, a man laughed. In a room down the way, a TV announced a prize nobody had won. Somewhere, a cart squeaked. The door filled with a woman in a plain blazer, flats, and a badge that did not need glitter. Miss Alvarez. She stepped into the doorway and looked into the open room for 1 second, then nodded as if the scene matched the picture she had in her head, and the picture had a caption that said, "We will fix it now." "Good morning," she said. "I am with the state ombudsman's office." She showed the badge. She placed a folder on the table. She did not sit. "Who is the patient?" "I am," I said. "Marion Doyle." She shook my hand. Her grip said practical things. "You did the right thing," she said. "Thank you for calling." "Thank you for coming," I said. She turned to Miss Brandt. "Discharge order?" Miss Brandt slid the paper. "Hold." For admin still stuck to the corner like a pout. Miss Alvarez read, then placed her forefinger on the word home, as if stamping it. "Release this immediately," she said. "Remove any restraints or designations not clinically ordered. Provide the patient with her belongings. Print the updated ledger. Provide the Medicare important message and the notice of discharge appeal rights, even though she is not appealing discharge. Provide the number for our office on a card." Her tone did not change. It did not need to. People only shout when they think the room has not heard them. This room had ears. "Do you understand?" she asked. "We do," Miss Brandt said. "Good," Miss Alvarez said. "Good," Miss Alvarez said. "Because my next call is to the survey unit if you do not, and they bring clipboards with teeth." Mr. Combs tried a pivot. "We are concerned about coverage confirmations," he said. "Observation status. Does not retain a patient," Miss Alvarez finished. "Your concern does not outweigh her rights. If you fear non-payment, you use your contracts. You do not hold a human being as collateral." Leah exhaled. I did not realize she had been holding her breath for 2 days. "Now," Miss Alvarez said, "walk me through the ledger." She pointed to the line items. This, and this. Who ordered them? Who provided them? Or were they codes you apply when you need to make a Friday look like a Monday? Hill sat straighter. "That is unfair," he said. "That is a question," she said. He had no answer. Miss Alvarez turned to me again. "Mrs. Doyle, do you wish to leave today?" "Yes," I said. "I wish to leave before lunch if possible. My stew is in the freezer. I would like to eat at my table." "Perfect," she said. "You will leave today. We will publish a complaint number. We will follow up. Do you want your daughter to take you home?" "Yes," I said. "Leah," she said, "do you feel comfortable transporting your mother?" Leah nodded. I brought her cane and her shoes without the slippery soles. "Good," Miss Alvarez said. "Nurse Kayla, please prepare the discharge packet. Remove non-clinical charges. Remove the wandering and monitor designations from the record. Note that the Ombudsman's office intervened. Include the physician's order in the packet." "Yes," Kayla said, as if someone had finally said the day's true plan out loud. "And one more thing," Miss Alvarez said, her voice still even. "Unlock the doors you locked in your heads. This woman is not a problem. She is a person. Treat her like you wish your mother to be treated when you are too tired to be brave." Kayla nodded. Miss Brandt did not. She looked at the ledger again as if numbers might offer a sympathy card. "We will go down together," Miss Alvarez said. "Open with courtesy. Close with documentation. Speak like neighbors. Leave like professionals. The meeting broke like a wave that had finally met a shore. In the hall, staff watched us pass. One aide gave me a small salute she tried to hide behind a clipboard. Marco leaned on the desk with a smile that was half pride and half sleep. "You did it," he said. "We did it," I said. "Bring your abuela flowers today." "I will," he said, and the smile became all pride. The elevator arrived. We rode down with Miss Alvarez, Leah, and Kayla. The doors slid closed with a soft kiss. I stared at the seam where they met and thought about seams, how they hold when you stitch right, how they pop when you pull the wrong thread, how sometimes you have to unpick a bad hem and do it again with better light. On the first floor, admissions looked like every admissions desk, tulips in a vase, a bowl of pens that did not write well, a sign that said "Welcome" in 3 languages and "Have your insurance card ready" in a font that tried to be cheerful and failed. Miss Alvarez asked for the administrator on duty. A man with a tie and a calendar opened a door. He had memorized 3 apologies and tried the second. "We are sorry for the confusion," he said. "This was not confusion," Miss Alvarez said. "This was a choice. Let's make different ones." He swallowed and nodded. "Yes." I sat while Kayla assembled a packet. Discharge order, see follow-up appointment. Medication list. Insurer case number. Corrected ledger with improper charges removed. She added the important message from Medicare even though it did not fit this exact case. She added the notice of discharge appeal rights because rights are rights and people should see them in daylight, not only when a fight breaks out. She placed each sheet in a clear sleeve. She stacked them in a folder that said "Home" on the tab. She slid the folder into a tote with the facility logo. I would not wear their name on my shoulder, but I would use their canvas to carry my lemons. "Mrs. Doyle," she said, "you will receive a phone call from a patient satisfaction company. They will ask you about cleanliness and food. They will not ask you about this. If you wish to tell them anyway, no one can stop you." "I will save my voice for your surveyors," I said. "That works too," she said and smiled for real. Miss Alvarez handed me a card with a number and a complaint ID. "We will document an improper delay of discharge and a retention attempt. We will refer the billing patterns to the appropriate unit. If the insurer denies any charges that should not exist, they know how to talk to one another. If you receive bills that do not match this corrected ledger, call me." "Thank you," I said. She looked at Leah. "Daughters who show up change outcomes. Keep showing up." Leah squeezed my shoulder. "I learned from the original teacher," she said. We walked to the main doors. The glass looked like every glass that opens when people have decided to act like people again. Security held the button. The door sighed. We stepped into light that had not been filtered through policy. The sky was an ordinary sky. That is the kind I like best. At the curb, Leah helped me into the car. Kayla hugged me quick, like a secret. "I'm sorry for the parts I could not fix," she said. "You fixed what you could," I said. "That is an honest day." She nodded. "I'm going back upstairs to chart the truth while the truth is still warm." "Good," I said. "Truth is easier to write before someone edits it." We drove. The radio found a song from a year that had been soft. We let it play. Neither of us spoke for 3 blocks. Then Leah said, "I wanted to shout." "I know," I said. "How did you not?" "I let the pages do it," I said. "Paper shouts without spit." She laughed, then wiped one eye. "I will quote you at least once a week." "Make it twice," I said. At home, I climbed my front steps like a person who knows each board. The porch smelled like rain had visited without staying. I hung my sweater. I said hello to the portrait of my late husband, even though I had stopped saying hello out loud 5 years ago. Some days deserve old rituals. We sat at the kitchen table with 2 bowls of stew that had waited like patient friends. We did not bless the food. We blessed the folder. We blessed the nurse. We blessed the woman with the badge and the voice like a level. We blessed a system that had tried to forget the rules and a woman on a phone who had reminded it. That night, I slept the sleep of a person whose home is not a building with a badge scanner. In the morning, I walked to the community center to drop off a flyer for an arthritis class. Aunt Jo, behind the desk, asked where I had been for 2 days. I told her the short version. She shook her head and said, "Some places try to turn people into invoices." I said, "Not me." She said, "Not you." That afternoon, Dr. Singh called. "You made quite a stir," he said, but he sounded pleased. "I stirred what needed stirring," I said. "I agree," he said. "Your blood pressure looks better at home than in rooms with too many clipboards." "It always has," I said. "Follow up next week," he said. "Bring your file so my residents can see how a patient does advocacy." "I will bring cookies too," I said. "Students learn better with sugar." "You and I understand pedagogy," he said and chuckled. 2 days later, a letter arrived from the Ombudsman's office. Complaint, intake complete. Issues, improper retention, discharge delay, billing irregularities. A week after that, a second letter. Preliminary findings, facility educated, billing items removed, staff training mandated on discharge rights and patient property. It was written in language that felt like cold toast, and still I cried. I put the letters in the file, and the file on a shelf where I keep instructions I hope to never need again. The corrected ledger from the facility came a day later. Charges gone. Codes deleted. A handwritten note at the bottom from Mr. Combs that said, "We regret any distress." I baked a pie and did not deliver it to his office. Not all lessons come with dessert. A week after that, Kayla texted a photo. The patient rights poster had moved from a glare-high spot to eye level by the elevator. New flyers sat in a holder below. How to reach the Ombudsman. A small sign on the bracelet cart read, "Risk bracelets require clinical orders." She added, "Look what changed." I wrote back, "You changed it." She sent a heart. Marco stopped by my porch on his way home from a night shift. He brought a grocery store bouquet that had 3 flowers trying their best. "For your table," he said. He sat on the step and told me about his abuela. We did not talk about my case. We talked about soup and how people heal when people are kind. In the mail, a survey arrived. Rate cleanliness, rate food, rate staff friendliness. No line asked, "Were you held for money?" No box asked, "Did a nurse save the day?" I filled the boxes anyway. I stapled a letter to the back. "You asked the wrong questions. Here are the right ones." I kept my tone practical. People who read surveys have long days. A month later, Miss Alvarez called to close the loop. "Final," she said. "Findings sustained. Training complete. Monitoring in progress. Billing corrections reported to insurer. If you receive any stray invoices that do not match the corrected ledger, call me." "I will," I said. "Thank you." "Keep your file," she said. "I keep everything," I said. "I used to grade 4th grade book reports. I know where to put paper." She laughed. "I suspect you do." I hung up and stood at my window with a cup of tea that tasted like mornings used to taste when bills were simpler and my knees were newer. I thought about old advice I gave to little kids who felt small in big hallways. Use your words, use your feet, find your adult. I had used my words. I had found the right adult. I had kept my feet ready, just in case. Sunday, my daughter came over for stew and to check my pill box even though I had already checked it. We ate and told the story of the week one more time to wear its edges smooth. At the end, Leah said, "You knew all along, didn't you?" "I suspected," I said. So I collected. If you suspect, you collect. "I am putting that on my wall," she said. "Put it by the door," I said. You will see it when you leave." The next Tuesday, a neighbor named Irene knocked. Her mother was at a different facility. They had told her to wait over the weekend for clarification. Irene looked like a person holding a short rope and a large dog. "Sit," I said. "I have a file and a number." Saturday I showed her how to label times, how to ask for names, how to request the ledger and the order, how to put the phone on speaker and say 3 sentences in a calm voice that knows the law even if it does not call it by name. We practiced once like a fire drill for a house with a stove that has smoked before. She left with a list. She texted me the next day. It worked. "Thank you." I put the phone down and cried again. I am a crier. Also a teacher. The two do not cancel each other. They hold hands. I went back to the community center and pinned a new flyer on the corkboard. "Know your discharge rights." I typed it big. I listed the Ombudsman number. I added a line at the bottom. "People put on a show. Paper tells the story." I signed it with a smiley face the way a kid might, because sometimes grown-ups need a small drawing to look at when they are about to make a call that shakes a room. A month after that, a letter on thick paper found my box. From the desk of the executive director at Hawthorne Vista Care. It apologized in paragraphs. It promised training. It promised audits. It promised doors would open when doctors said they should open. It thanked me for bringing this to our attention. I laughed at that. Attention had been in the room the whole time. It just needed someone to point and say, "Look, I did not frame the letter. I put it in the file." Files do not need frames. They need shelves and patience and the kind of quiet you carry into rooms where people forget their lines and you help them remember. 2 seasons later, I ran into Kara. Not the wedding planner from another story, just a different woman with the same name, at the pharmacy. She worked as a physical therapist at the safe place down the road. "We heard what you did," she said. "We teach our students that story now, not as gossip, as a drill." "Good," I said. "Drills save lives." "Sometimes they save dignity," she said. "That too," I said. I walked home slow, cane light in my hand. Leaves rattled like paper that has agreed to be a tree again. I thought about committees and clipboards and how people hide behind them when they are afraid of telling truth to a balance sheet. I thought about nurses and daughters and state workers who walk into rooms without capes and hand out rights like they are bread. That night, I pulled the accordion file down one more time. I added 1 page. Lessons. I wrote them in teacher script. If you suspect, you collect. Ask for names. Ask for times. Get the order. Get the ledger. Call the right number while the room can hear it. Open the door and keep it open. Leave with dignity. Write it down so the next person does not have to bleed to learn. I tucked the page in front. I closed the file and slid it back where I keep my recipes for days when people come by with stories that need soup. I am not a hero. I am a woman with a pen, a phone, and a daughter who brings a portable printer like other people bring flowers. I am the kind of person who believes people can learn. I believe it because I watched a room learn in under an hour when a voice on a phone reminded it that policies are not shackles. They are tools, and the right hands make better houses. Invitation without respect is logistics. Retention without a clinical reason is custody. People put on a show. Paper tells the story. If you need the state, call the state. You do not have to shout. You do not have to shout. Your pages will do it for you. If this story helped, tap subscribe to QuietRevenge and tell me the rule you keep near your phone. Names first, times first, or this one if you suspect, you collect.